The question is that the Premier's statement be agreed to. The member for Mirrabooka.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. Acting Speaker, it's a pleasure to rise today to be able to speak on the Premier's in response to the Premier's statement. And I wanted to today share with the House some of the great things that have been happening in my electorate of Mirrabooka. I recently asked my supporters what they loved most about living in the electorate of Mirrabooka, and their responses overwhelmingly identified that the thing they loved the most was our great diversity, as well as our great food. And so I thought today I would concentrate my comments on exactly that, particularly the diversity in the community and the great work that's been done by this government in the area of multicultural interests. I know that members in this House will be aware that Mirrabooka is one of the most diverse electorates in the state. 45% of people were born overseas and 45% of people speak a language other than English at home. It's the case that people come from all over the world to settle in Mirrabooka, either as migrants or as refugees. So multiculturalism and the needs of our culturally and linguistically diverse communities are always matters on my mind as the member for Mirrabooka. The fantastic diversity in my community is on display every day, and it's regularly celebrated with cultural celebrations and national days right throughout the electorate and beyond. I've been really delighted this year not to have just one but three opportunities to celebrate the new year. And for anyone who's ever failed to keep their New Year's resolutions, I can confirm that it's excellent to have more than one opportunity to commit to them. In addition to our traditional 1st of January celebrations, the Karen community recognised their 2,761st anniversary of the Karen New Year on the 2nd of January. Now, unfortunately, they weren't able to gather to celebrate this year due to concerns about COVID, but having attended last year, I can report that this is a wonderful and colourful celebration that showcases their food, their dancing, their amazing traditional costumes. And I want to thank Jonesy King from the Karen Welfare Association for her leadership in the community and for her work on these and other events. We have also, in the electorate and beyond, recently celebrated the Lunar New Year, which was officially recognised on the 1st of February. In Mirrabooka, it's mainly our local Vietnamese people that enjoy this celebration, and they call it Tet. I've enjoyed celebrations with the Vietnamese seniors clubs who meet in Kundula, and another celebration that took place at the Mirrabooka community markets, where we've enjoyed lion dancing, amazing food, and I can attest to the Vietnamese seniors' excellent line dancing and karaoke skills. The Vietnamese community of WA usually celebrate Tet with an enormous festival, which was due to be held early in March this year, but again, unfortunately, won't proceed. Last year, the Tet Festival attracted thousands of people to celebrate on the oval of the Girraween High School with incredible dancing, lots of food, amazing costumes and a great showcase of traditions. So I look forward to joining Dr An Nguyen, the President of the Vietnamese community in WA, and all the wonderful members of the Vietnamese community in my electorate and beyond to celebrate this occasion when hopefully we come together next year. In addition to celebrating the New Year, we've also enjoyed a number of other cultural celebrations. The Organisation of African Communities hosted the fantastic Jambo Festival at the end of January. And while this was held in Wanneroo, at the member for Wanneroo's electorate, many people from my community in Mirrabooka, and in fact from all around the Perth metropolitan area, enjoyed this celebration of all that Africa has to offer over the two-day festival. There was again much dancing. I believe even the Minister showed us his best moods. There was food, there was great music, and there was a terrific show of the incredible vibrancy of the 54 nations that make up the African continent. For me personally, it was a great joy to witness just how proud the African community is of the Honourable Ayor Makua Chawat, as indeed we all are. Proud of her for being the first South Sudanese person elected to this parliament. And I particularly enjoyed seeing the African community celebrate their sister as they welcomed her onto the stage. They celebrated with traditional African dancing, and women literally ran from the crowd to surround her and dance with her, celebrating her success as she made her way to the stage to speak. I want to congratulate Joe Tazama, Dr Castaneda Hughes and other members of the Organisation of African Communities Committee who worked so hard to make this a great event. The event's grown over the years and this year found its new home at the Wanneroo Showgrounds, and I'm sure it will continue to go on to bigger and better things in the years to come. I also wanted to briefly report on the celebration of the 74th Chin National Day, which was celebrated on the weekend on Saturday the 12th of February. And unfortunately I wasn't able to attend due to other commitments, but it is a very important event in the calendar of our Chin community in Mirrabooka. It's celebrated right around the world on the 20th of February, which is their National Day. And in Western Australia, they come together and it's a great opportunity for the community to show off, again, their culture, their dancing, their food and their songs, and particularly to honour the achievements of their community members. So over 300 people gathered on Saturday to celebrate this important occasion. Acting Speaker, I report on these events not just because I want to show off the fantastic fun and the food that we enjoy in Mirrabooka, but because I think these events also speak to the wonderful multiculturalism that we enjoy in Mirrabooka and that we enjoy in WA more broadly. I think we're so lucky in Western Australia to enjoy a vibrant, inclusive, strong community where diversity is celebrated and where it's shared. Anyone who's paid close attention to politics recently, both in Australia and around the world, should understand that having a society that welcomes and celebrates diversity doesn't happen by accident. That governments can, and they do, play a positive role to encourage a diverse and inclusive society, or unfortunately governments can, through their actions and their words, create division, disharmony and suspicion. I am very proud to be a part of the Labor government, the McGowan Labor government, which is actively fostering and celebrating multiculturalism and supporting our culturally and linguistically diverse communities here in WA. Deliberate actions by this government are building resilience and cohesion in our communities, and I wanted to draw attention to some of that work in my comments today. Firstly, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Ministerial Multicultural Advisory Council. The purpose of this council is to provide the Minister and the government more broadly with direct grassroots feedback and advice on relevant policies relating to multiculturalism and the needs of culturally and linguistically diverse communities in WA. It provides a direct link between CALD communities in Western Australia and the Minister. It's an honour to have been appointed as a member of this committee and to be part of the important work that they have been undertaking. There's been a number of things they've worked on, but I wanted to just talk particularly to two things today. And the first is the Multicultural Policy Framework, which was published in March 2020, but it puts into practice the state government's commitment to multiculturalism. The framework requires public sector agencies to develop multicultural plans and to report on their implementation through agency annual reports. The Ministerial Advisory Council will play an ongoing role in monitoring the implementation of this framework. Having a plan is an essential first step to making progress, and this is the first such plan in WA, a powerful first step to ensure that we're building a harmonious and inclusive community and developing government policies and programs that are responsive to the needs of our diverse population. The second piece of work that the Council's been involved in that I really wanted to spend some time talking about is the essential role they've played in fashioning the response to the COVID pandemic and ensuring that it's been effective and well targeted within our multicultural communities here in WA. I want to thank and acknowledge all the leaders of the CALD communities, not just those on the Minister's Advisory Council, but leaders right across WA, because they've played such an important role in spreading and reinforcing important public health messages that have helped keep our community safe during COVID. From early messages about hand sanitiser and social distancing through to key messages about getting vaccinated, and now at the stage where we're managing close contacts, it's been incredible to see the leadership within our multicultural communities as they've stepped up to keep their communities safe. The Minister's Advisory Council has provided essential advice about how to increase vaccination rates amongst our culturally and linguistically diverse communities by addressing the key languages and making sure that messaging is appropriately targeted, and also by ensuring there's lots of opportunities for vaccination to happen in culturally appropriate settings. and to help spread the message about the importance of vaccination within, both in their own language and using their own community networks to do so. We've experienced amazing cooperation from communities to ensure their community events have pop-up vaccination clinics. So Jambo Africa, for example, the Chin Community National Day, and cultural sporting carnivals like the Perth Africa Cup have all had opportunities for pop-up clinics, making them very easily accessible and ensuring that community leaders at those events can speak and promote the importance of vaccination. The Advisory Council continues to provide essential support as we enter this latest phase of COVID, using community networks to spread the essential messages that will help keep us all safe. Messages about self-isolation, about the need for testing, about definitions and how to manage close contacts. The McGowan Labor government's also supporting our multicultural communities through grants from the Office of Multicultural Interests. And I wanted to just draw attention to a few of those. They fund a range of projects, both large and small, but there's many excellent examples of them. But I just wanted to talk briefly today about the Abigail Mamas Sewing Project, which is one such project that's received funding in my electorate. This is a 10-week project, and it's run by an organisation called Abigail Mamas in conjunction with the Organisation of African Communities. And the focus of this project is on empowering African women. It's a project that will teach African women to sew. So it will assist them to learn a new skill, leading perhaps to employment or maybe even starting their own home business. But it importantly also provides an essential opportunity for those women to build a strong community of support amongst themselves and help them to overcome language barriers and help them to overcome social isolation. I was really delighted to attend the opening and the launch of this program in January and meet the 3 women who've been engaged as teachers. I think it's a great example of finding culturally appropriate ways to build strong communities and help find opportunities for for employment and therefore economic independence. I particularly enjoyed visiting the launch of this project because the project's being delivered in the new home for the Organisation of African Communities in Nollamara, made possible due to an election commitment made by both myself and the Minister for Health. Personally, I can't wait to see the amazing clothes that these participants will make, and even though the program's just begun, they were there at the Jambo Africa Festival showing their wares and beginning the first step towards creating a small business and creating economic independence. The government's also providing funding to support community language schools, and again there's a number of these that operate in the electorate of Mirrabooka, and I know they operate all around the Perth area. They're run by volunteers and they are providing essential services to many of our culturally and linguistically diverse communities. In my electorate, hundreds of kids aged between the ages of about 5 or 6 up to 17 attend these language schools on the weekends to learn the language of their home country and to also learn the traditions of their home country. Now, I'm the parent of 2 teenage boys, and I have to say I'm amazed at the commitment, both of the parents and of the students, that they continue to attend these language schools every weekend, often right up to the age of 16 or 17 in many cases. But as students have explained to me as I've visited them, they value the language schools because it helps them to communicate with their grandparents in particular, but also sometimes their parents, who often are only able to communicate in the language of their home country. So supporting and teaching language to young people is a great way that governments can help ensure that our culturally and linguistically diverse communities remain connected within their families, and particularly to ensure that older people remain connected, overcoming social isolation. It is a powerful thing for both a child and a grandparent to remain connected through their home language. I love our community language schools, and I've visited a number of them operating in the Mirrabooka electorate, including the Vietnamese Community School, the Myanmar Learning Centre, the Karen Language School and the Vietnamese Evangelical Ethnic School. The support these schools receive from the McGowan Labor government is helping them to continue to perform their excellent work. Acting Speaker, I wanted to talk a little bit about the role of the Labor Party in promoting multiculturalism. And as I said earlier,
Governments make choices through their actions and through their words which have consequences for our community. And I think this is particularly true for our multicultural communities. I've talked briefly about some of the things the McGowan Labor government's doing in this space, and I think it's important to compare that record with the deliberate and appalling actions that we've often seen from the federal Liberal national governments in this area, which I think are designed to deliberately create division and create distrust and to create disharmony. It's hard to forget the comments of Minister Dutton, who as the Minister for Home Affairs claimed some years ago that Victorians were scared to go out to restaurants because they feared African gang violence. It's a disgraceful slur that's been made on the African communities in Victoria, a claim widely discredited, but not before the damage was already done. It was a statement that was clearly designed to bolster the failing fortunes of an inept and incompetent federal government without any concern for the hurt and damage that those comments might cause. Now, as I was writing these comments, it occurred to me that we've seen that behaviour yet again from the federal Liberal national government just last week. It's straight from the same playbook where they target minorities in our community as a way of trying to bolster their own political fortunes. Last week, the target was, of course, the trans and diverse people in our community rather than multicultural communities. And I reflect on the contribution from the member for North West Central just today in relation to issues that he's describing in his electorate. And again, I think there's a tendency amongst our opposition number, certainly federally, and I think they risk it in the state as well, of building into division to cover up the lack of ability on behalf of some of the members. And I think we should compare that to the track record of the Labor Party, not just the track record in government, but the track record of the Labor Party in supporting multicultural and culturally and linguistically diverse candidates. Can I have a short extension, please?
Extension granted.
I am proud to be a member of a political party that has always been committed to building a strong and vibrant multicultural society. It has always been the Labor Party that has led the way in this pursuit. It's the Labor Party that is committed to ensuring that candidates from diverse backgrounds are pre-selected to seats that are winnable in this parliament. I referred earlier to the Honourable Ayor Makua-Chawat and the great joy her election to this parliament has given her community and the African community at large. It has given them great joy and it has given them great hope. As I look around, this parliament boasts a significant number of elected representatives from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds. I think we've previously acknowledged the members for Riverton, Pilbara and Jandakot who are here as part of the Indian community. In the other place, the Honourable Pierre Yang and the Honourable Clara Andrick hail from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds, and I must mention the Italian community being well represented in this House as well, with the members for Armidale, West Swan and Warnbro. But time and time again, the Labor Party's demonstrated its commitment to selecting candidates to contest seats that they can win. And just last year, the Multicultural Labor Organisation was established as a way of encouraging people from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds to get involved in politics. The mission of that organisation is to promote political empowerment, participation and engagement of multicultural communities. So I want to acknowledge the work of the Multicultural Labor Organisation for what they have already achieved and wish them well in the work that they will do. I know that many in my electorate are particularly energised by the creation of this organisation. I want to congratulate those who have worked so hard to create that organisation. So while the Labor Party is about representing the richness and diversity of our community, there's others who fail and fall short. Again, look at the federal candidates in the upcoming federal election. The Labor Party has some fantastic candidates from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds. Anne Ali, the member for Cowan, the first Muslim woman elected to an Australian parliament. Zadina Makaranis, the candidate for Swan, an excellent candidate and no doubt will very well represent the people in the electorate of Swan. Sam Lim, the candidate for Tangi, born in Malaysia and who has worked as an engagement officer for WA Police and worked in fact with multicultural communities right across Western Australia. And Fatima Payman, candidate for the Senate, a young Muslim woman who I think would be an outstanding representative in our federal parliament. Members, it's the Labor Party, and it's always been the Labor Party that is committed to making WA and Australia a diverse, multicultural, inclusive and strong society. It's the Labor Party that has the commitment to pre-select candidates to contest seats where they have a chance of being elected to our parliament. Acting Speaker, I noticed in your contribution yesterday, you made the point about the excellent women that the Labor Party has managed to pre-select and get elected, and pointed to the opposition and suggested that indeed they should do much better in this regard. And I want to similarly echo those comments in respect of multicultural candidates to this place and to the federal parliament. So while the Labor Party has the commitment, I think it's clear that those in the Liberal Nationals need to do much better in this regard as well, instead of continuing to pre-select candidates that are, to use the expression, pale, male and stale. It's the Labor Party that has the commitment and the policies, it's the Labor Party that has the policies and the commitment to implement those when they're elected to government. And rather than taking cheap political shots of the kind that we saw from Minister Dutton at culturally and linguistically diverse communities, It's the Labor Party that invests in policies and a commitment to implementing those policies, while the Liberal Nationals take cheap shots and build on division in the community, like we saw from Minister Dutton. Members, I'm very proud to be a part of the McGowan Labor government and the work that it's doing in this space. I've really been honoured to experience the vibrancy and the generosity of our culturally and linguistically diverse communities, and I want to thank those communities for sharing so generously their culture with me and everyone in Western Australia. We are richer for our diversity. It makes our community stronger, it makes our community fairer, and it makes all of our lives better. Governments have a responsibility to provide leadership that builds a positive and inclusive multicultural community. Here in WA, the McGowan Labor government's investing in building our multicultural communities, making them stronger and increasing our social cohesion. I want to thank the Minister, the member for Armidale, for his work in this portfolio area. He is well known for his athletic endurance, and I think he puts that to good use in this portfolio.
And dancing.
I've already mentioned his dancing. The demands on his time are many, and yet he's committed to attending a great many of the events that are held by our culturally and linguistically diverse communities, and he is committed to working hard on their behalf. I also want to thank the Premier for his commitment to our multicultural communities. He is greatly respected and admired by many, many people in my community for his strong leadership, particularly his strong leadership on COVID, which has kept us so safe and strong in WA since the pandemic began. For many of the people that I represent who have close family and friends still in their home country, they know very well how well WA has fared throughout this pandemic. They have unfortunately had a front row seat to see how their families who remain overseas have fared in other countries. They have lost family members and they have lost friends to COVID. In other countries, they've seen their friends and families lose jobs and suffer terrible economic consequences because governments haven't prioritised the health needs of their community. In my community, people understand from their front row seat that our COVID response in WA has been one of the best in the world. It has not only preserved our economy, it has saved lives. And so I want to, on behalf of the people that I represent, thank and commend the Premier for his strong leadership, and thank and commend all of the Cabinet for the work that they have done in keeping us safe. Acting Speaker, I want to conclude by acknowledging that it is a great honour to represent the fabulous, diverse community of Mirrabooka, and it's a great honour to be part of a government that is committed to celebrating our multiculturalism and promoting its success. As many other members have said before me, I look forward to what the 2022 parliamentary year will bring, and I wish everyone here well for the coming year. Thank you.